Hi, I'm Christian Triola, author of The Missing Method for Guitar books, and in this video I'm going to show you the 12 songs that taught me how to play guitar. So song number 1 on the list, Disarm by Smashing Pumpkins. Now this song taught me a few things. First, it has chords that are really easy to play back to back. Very similar to like Wonderwall by Oasis and probably like 1,000 other songs that are out there. A lot of guitar songs do that sort of thing. And so it kind of gives you a chance to practice that kind of cliche almost. Also, it's great for endurance because most of it is strummed downstroke. And it's not real slow either. So you have to just keep up this constant downstroke pattern as you're playing through the song. So if you're not familiar with it, I'm just going to play a little bit of it so you can hear Disarm by Smashing Pumpkins. So here it is. Alright, so that's just the beginning part of it, of course, and it goes on from there, but that whole time you're just playing downstrokes, you're running through those chords. There's a couple other chords that come up later on, but it's really a lot of fun to play. I got really good at a lot of open chords playing this song and just strumming in general. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. Alright, the next song I learned was Jimi Hendrix. I wanted to learn how to play something from Jimi Hendrix because everybody told me he's the guy to listen to for guitar. So I did, I loved it, and I happened to find a guitar magazine that same month that was showing you how to play Purple Haze. So even though I couldn't really play it real well, I could play the beginning riff, and then I tried my best to get through the rest of it. Eventually I could play it. So here's just a little bit of Purple Haze. Alright, now another thing that Purple Haze has in it are some interesting chord voicings that I learned pretty early on, like the dominant 7 sharp 9 chord, which is called the Jimi Hendrix chord, and you can hear it very heavily in this song, And the interesting thing is he's using heavy fuzz, and usually with a chord with that many notes in it, you wouldn't do that, yet it seems to work. We also have major chords that are voiced differently from just the normal ones that we're used to doing. Here we have 3 fingers down in a row, so you have, for example, on this G chord, first finger on the note D, second finger on the 3rd string, 4th fret for B, and then 3rd finger on the G, 5th fret of the 4th string, and then your thumb comes up and plays the last string. And you have these really cool major chords that you can move around the neck. So there was a lot of good stuff to learn in there. I learned a lot about string bending as well, and all sorts of things, including what a fuzz face was. I saw that in the magazine. I'm like, what is that? So I looked it up. It took a while to find it because this is before the internet, but I realized that was the effect that he was using to get that sound. All right, let's move on to the next one. The next one on the list is also a Smashing Pumpkins song. I was a huge fan of theirs, still am. And this one is off the same album, and it's called Today. And I learned the whole song, so I could play through the whole thing, but it was really that intro that got my attention and got me playing, because it's just a real simple thing. And I just love doing that over and over again. It actually does help build up finger strength and get your pinky involved, which is something a lot of beginners kind of avoid. They don't like to use the pinky because it doesn't always cooperate. So it's a good exercise in building up that pinky finger, and it's a lot of fun. Then of course later in the song you have heavy power chords, you have interesting kind of counterpoint lines in the lead part that I always love to listen to and play. And it was just really a lot of fun to learn Today by Smashing Pumpkins. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so next on the list, of course I had to throw a Weezer song on here. I mean, there were a lot to choose from. I learned a lot of stuff from playing Weezer. Buddy Holly was a strong contender for this position, but ultimately I had to go with the first Weezer song I learned, which was the Sweater Song. So I'm just going to play a little bit of that. Of course, I learned this opening riff like in an afternoon, which I was really happy about. And if you notice when I'm playing that, I don't play it with the most efficient fingering. I should be doing this. But I don't, because that's not how I originally learned it. And I always go back to that slightly less efficient way of doing it, just out of habit, really. But that song is a lot of fun to learn because that intro sounds amazing and it's really easy to play. Later on, you get open chords. And then those build into power chords. And of course, there's a very playable solo on that one as well. It takes some work, a little bit more so than some other solos, but it's not too bad to play. And I kind of learned that one years later. At first, it was just those rhythm parts. All right, let's move on to the next one. Next on the list, of course, is Nirvana. Now, you might think Smells Like Teen Spirit would make the list. And that is one that I learned a lot from, especially the muted type of things. But actually, on the list, I'm including Lithium. It was actually the first Nirvana song I ever heard, and I loved it. I loved the contrast of sound, so of course I had to learn how to play it. So here's a little bit of Lithium. Also on that one, I learned how to palm mute. I had done it a little bit before, but wasn't that good at it. But in order to make this song sound right, I had to learn how to palm mute. You know, getting that nice muffled sound, but still getting a nice clear tone in there. All right, let's move on to the next song. So I didn't just learn rock songs, of course. I liked a lot of variety of music, so of course I had to try out some jazz. And one of the first jazz tunes that I really loved playing and played over and over again was the Duke Ellington tune, Satin Doll. And even now when I pick up a guitar, it's one of those songs that I just go to and start playing. I love how it sounds, and it's really kind of fun to figure out different ways of approaching it. And this song kind of got me excited to play jazz as well. It introduced me to Duke Ellington, and I liked playing as many of his songs and as many of his tunes as I could. So here is a little bit of how I played Satin Doll. And then it would go on from there. But I learned a lot about chord melody playing from doing that. Of course, I learned the regular tune as well. And I kind of went through the chords. There was a lot of good stuff I learned with Satin Doll. All right, let's move on to the next one. Now, this next one you might not expect on the list, but I had to put it on here because when I first started learning how to play guitar, I started kind of the classical way. I started by reading notes. And for some students, they love it, like me. I loved reading notes. I thought it was really interesting and a lot of fun. But I know not everyone likes that approach to start with. But one song that kind of put it over the top for me, that made it so that I wanted to learn how to read notes, was Jingle Bells. There, I've said it. I liked playing Jingle Bells. It was the first thing I played that sounded like a real song, so of course I have to put Jingle Bells on the list. And since then, I've learned to play that a billion different ways just for fun. I've done other videos on Jingle Bells, And I've taught a lot of students how to play Jingle Bells, and they all request it. It's not like I tell them you have to play Jingle Bells. They want to learn it because it's a song they know they can play, and it gets them excited to play it. So here's a little bit of Jingle Bells. Why not? All right, I'm sure you know how the rest of that goes, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So on a list like this, I can't exclude the Beatles. The Beatles have to be on here. And so one song, I picked one song, maybe kind of two songs for the Beatles. One of them was a song that's not real well known by them, and that's a song called I'll Be On My Way. And I really like this one because it got me playing augmented chords and sixth chords and some chords that I wasn't really familiar with before this, and it sounds really cool. To hear I'll Be On My Way, I'm going to play a little bit of it now, but the full Beatles recording is found on their Live at the BBC studio sessions. So to the best of my knowledge, and I've tried to find it on other albums, I don't think it's on there, but I did find it on there. That's where I first heard it. And it's a really fun song to play. So here's just a little bit of I'll Be On My Way. And then it moves on from there. So you can see it's a lot of open chords. It's got that cool augmented sound. That movement there with the pinky. I just love it. It's a really fun Beatles song to play. So if you don't know that one, I definitely recommend you check that one out. The other Beatles song that's not officially on the list, but I kind of wanted to put it on here, is Blackbird. Blackbird is a great song that I think any new student should learn how to play because it sounds so cool and it kind of looks impressive too. It looks like you know what you're doing, yet it's not too terribly difficult. It's of course played by using your fingers, so I just put my pick down to demonstrate a little bit of Blackbird. And then of course it moves on from there into some really cool parts that are just a lot of fun to play. All right, let's move on to the next one. So this next one is on the list for the same reason that Satin Doll is. It's one of those jazz tunes that even if you don't play a lot of jazz, you should definitely play this tune. It's not real hard. It familiarizes you with some of the basic jazz chords, and it's just a great sounding tune. And even if you're not a huge jazz fan, this melody is wonderful, and the song is Autumn Leaves. It of course is a French jazz song, and it's just got this beautiful sound to it, and so I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of Autumn Leaves for you. You can hear that melody by itself sounds good, and then you have these chords that go with it. And of course you can experiment with that and make all kinds of changes. So it's a fun vehicle for exploring jazz, exploring harmony, and it's one of my favorites even still. Okay, for number 10 on the list, I had to include a classical guitar song because classical guitar is beautiful. I do enjoy playing it. I don't play it as much as I'd like to, but this one was one of the first classical guitar pieces that I learned, and it taught me a lot about playing classical guitar. And it's Barre by Bach. And chances are you may have even heard this. This is almost like a guitar cliche when it comes to classical guitar. But there's a reason for it. It's a lot of fun to play and it sounds cool. So here's a little bit of Barre. And of course it goes on from there. That's just a little taste of it. But I had to throw that one on the list. All right, let's go to number 11. All right, this one is one of my favorites. I still love playing it, and I learned a lot of good stuff from it. One of the things, of course, is practicing bar chords. Another thing is the intro. It's got a really cool sounding intro that really helps to build up your fingers. And that song is The Stray Cat Strut by the Stray Cats. Now, of course, I think of it as Brian Setzer because he's one of my favorite guitar players. Now, the interesting thing about Stray Cat Strut is I also love it too because when I was in middle school, we were doing a choir concert and there weren't many guys in the choir. So we were playing, or singing, I should say, Stray Cat Strut. And so most of the lead part was left up to the guys section. And so it came the day of the concert and the other guys decided they weren't going to show up. So I was the only male singer in that concert, and I got to essentially sing solo on Stray Cat Strut. And the cool thing is I kind of nailed it and it sounded really good. So I've always had a kind of a soft spot for Stray Cat Strut. So here's a little bit of it. Here's the intro. And then of course the chords later on. And then you have that break and it goes on from there. It's just a really fun song to play. All right, so let's finish things off with number 12 on the list. And it's one you might not expect. This last one is actually another jazz tune, but it's a really old jazz tune. And it's arranged for solo guitar, but it uses mostly open chords. And so it was really the first arranged piece I ever did. And I loved it. I loved the sound of it, and I just played it over and over again. In fact, I remember taking a guitar on a family vacation one year, and this is pretty much all I played for hours. And that song is Ain't Misbehavin', and I'm gonna play through it for you right now. All right, and there you have it. Those are the 12 songs that pretty much taught me how to play guitar. So what are some of the songs that you have learned that have really helped inform your playing? I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Also too, if you're new to guitar and would like to get started playing, we have this book, Beginner Guitar, here right by me. It gives you everything you need to get started, from note reading, tab reading, playing chords, different styles of music, ear training, and a whole lot more. So I'd recommend you check that out. Also, go visit themissingmethod.com. Once there, if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get a free ebook, so keep that in mind. All right, I hope you enjoyed that video, so give me a thumbs up and I will see you in the next video.